Yes. So mentorship, right? Mentorship is key. And I feel like that is the biggest struggle as women. We either stay playing victim or we take charge of our lives and we seek out the mentorship that is necessary. If we didn't get it from our mother, we need to find a mama with knowledge, a mama with experience, a mama that's going to tell me things that I don't have to experience, that I could avoid the BS,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And
That's so important.
that's the hardest part about us as women, and that I think is the one biggest thing that holds us back from our true authentic purpose in life.
Oh, yes, so on point, so on point. It's so true. It's the lack of the mentorship, the lack of leadership within being a woman and surpassing these trials and tribulations in our minds. Because really, it's our minds. It's in our
Yes.
minds that we become this victim and then we stay stuck. Um, but there is a sense, again, I'm always going to go back to this. There always is a sense, there has to be a sense of accountability,
Yes.
even to get to the point of saying, I need a mentor, right? There has to be a sense of self reflection and saying, oh my
Yes.
goodness, like, yeah, XYZ happened to me, but what did I do? Like, what patterns did I have, and what did I to do to wind up in a situation like this? And that's one of the things that helped me heal and work through what I went through with my abusive situation
Yeah.
with my daughter's father. I stopped being a victim and I started saying, you know what? Yeah, what he did was messed up. But what did I do to allow this, to allow myself to fall in this kind of
Accountability.
situation? And I took accountability. I took accountability for what he did, and I took accountability for what I did and for what I allowed. And in that moment, I freed myself. And a lot of women, sometimes we have the problem,
Yeah.
the issue of staying stuck in that victim. Like we just want, we have like, we want someone to be a savior when really your savior is you and God, right? God is your savior, and you do the work. You put in your work, and God will meet you halfway. But I see that a lot with women, and even with myself. I was that person. I was that person. Where it's like I was stuck mentally as a victim, and that held me back for a long time, longer than it needed to,
Yeah.
right? Longer than it needed to. And then at that point, yeah, you once you start taking accountability, you're going to say, well, I need a mentor. I
Yes.
don't have any. Is Can I say there's a woman around me, like a well-rounded woman, not just in one area, not just in business, or not just in motherhood? Like, can I look at this woman and say I want to be like this person, or I want this person to follow me? And sometimes mentorship looks like multiple people, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you'll seek for mentorship in being a better mommy, right? Or a mentorship in business, and maybe that's not your actual mom, but you actually have a good example of a mom. So now you could look up to your mom as something like, okay, this is a great example of how to be a good mom. But
Yeah.
then as far as business, you have goals that might not match those people that are around you, so now you have to look for that. You
Yeah.
have to expose yourself to that. And again, lack of accountability with that, right? Women say, well, I don't know anybody that knows how to do that, so that's why I haven't done anything.
Look. Search. Take some effort.
Search for it.
Action.
Yeah, like, come on. There's the action that we're talking about. There's the accountability that we're talking about, because you know what? We're in an age where there's no excuse. You
None.
literally have same access to, like, you could go chat GPT absolutely everything, anything, and find the same information that maybe someone that went to college for 10 years had to
Yes.
learn over 10 years. Now you have access to that. You have access to people in social media. How did
Yes.
you and I meet? We met through
Yes.
social media.
And
Right?
I think
We didn't meet in person.
one of the biggest things you say all the time is ChatGPT is my therapist. And it
Yeah,
can
I
be
said
whatever you make it.
exactly. And it's so funny because you know what? I always say, like, those of us who are ChatGPT baddies now, because we go to ChatGPT everything. You can think about, like, what were you doing prior to
Oh my
ChatGPT?
God.
I bet you were an obsessive Googler. Like, you
Yeah.
would Google everything. Yeah, me too.
I tell my husband, I said, I don't know, Google it. I don't know what to do. Let me figure it out.
You were an obsessive Googler, and you would Google and you'd research and you'd read and you'd learn, and then all of a sudden you have all this knowledge on why you get itchy. Like,
Yeah.
this is just like like just random, like, because this is what you are. Like, you just consistently looking for
Yeah.
resources. And that's another thing as women, alongside being accountable for for your choices, for the things you're not doing, for the things that you've put yourself through. I think another good thing is to touch on is being resourceful,
Yes.
right?
And not
Being
wait
resourceful.
for anyone to do it for you.
Yeah, and not waiting for anyone to do it for you. Sorry, I'm also on live here on Instagram, and everyone's going crazy over our conversation.
Women need to
Yes,
have these conversations, have the hard conversations. And
it's
I think
so
that
true.
is the biggest part is women in the community today need to learn how to continually stick together and encourage each other to get to the next levels. Without men are here to help. They are here to protect. They are here to elevate us, but we also have our own purpose when it comes up to men. We are here
Oh
to
yeah,
make sure that the situation is good for them just as much as it is for us, because when we have
correct,
that solid foundation for them, we become better. They teach us
correct,
so much.
correct,
We need each other to balance the
correct.
situation out. And I hate when I hear, oh, I don't need a man for this. I don't need, no, sweetheart.
Oh,
You don't need the wrong man. You need the
yeah.
right man.
I love that you commented that. Oh my goodness, because this is going to be extremely controversial.
Yes.
I
I love it.
150% agree.
You need
I
that.
don't agree with, unfortunately, feminism has really gone to an extreme portion where it's hurting us now,
Yes.
right? It's hurting us because to go to the extent to say that I don't need a man. I don't know about you. Like, I tell my daughter this all the time. Like, every time we'll pass by her school and they're doing construction, I'm like, do you see one woman there? And it's just, and I'm not trying to be,
Mm-mm.
you know,
Go to the
like, I don't know what's the word for it,
bathroom.
but we just need to be real, right? I was like, do you see one woman there?
None.
And she's like, no, mommy, I don't see not one woman there. I'm like, exactly. So we need men in our lives. We need men. Thank God for the beautiful buildings that we're able to walk into and experience in real estate, for example, because I'm also in real estate. I'm like, you think a woman built this? Because
No.
I
Maybe
wouldn't.
one.
I wouldn't sign up for it. Maybe you can. It's not to
One.
say that we can't.
But
And
one
thankfully,
to
we live in a
15.
yeah, thankfully we live in a society where we have the
Yeah.
freedom to be able to say, hey, you know what, I want to go to construction. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead, girly. But let's look at the reality.
Yes.
Men have built our society. We need men, right? And the more men that take lead in being better men,
Yes.
the better it is for women. Because unfortunately, if you look at statistics again, a lot of the crimes against women are from men.
Yeah.
So now if we have better men standing up, men of God, men who
Yes.
have morals and values, leading other men and calling out other men, because the only people that can call out men are men. Because a lot of the things that they do is for each other, right? Like, oh,
Yes.
I have, and we have to be realistic, but
Yes.
especially about women. And I think
Yes.
that it's so important alongside understanding ourselves, understanding that women and men are not the same. We
Yeah.
don't think the same. We don't function the
No.
same. And God created us that way for a reason, so
Yeah.
that we can coexist and be something that we both need for each other.
Yes. I
Right?
always say it all the time. We are the head, they are the body. Right? And
Exactly.
no man, and I've had to learn this the hard way. No man wants to fight the world all day and then come home and fight their partner. You want
And no woman either.
peace.
No woman either.
No,
No woman either. Exactly.
you want to have that harmony. And the only way that
Exactly.
happens is with healing and growth on both ends. And to
Oh,
me, I
sure.
say this all the time. If you are a woman that does not believe in healing and growth, do not find a good man, because you're going to ruin them for the rest of us.
So true. It
Don't
goes
do it.
both ways too. It goes both ways too. But yes,
Don't do it.
as women speaking on the topic, yeah, yeah, and I agree. I agree because it ruins it for the rest of us, and there's already a little puddle, right?
Yeah.
Um, but again, it always goes back. I'm gonna always go back to this. It's always going to go back to accountability and
Yeah.
action, right? And I think that a lot of the times us women, maybe, I don't know, maybe you can touch base on why that is, where the majority of the time we settle in that. We
Yeah.
settle in wanting to be the victim and wanting to not do anything about it and want everyone else to change, but to actually reflect on ourselves and say, okay, like, what am I doing
Yeah.
to allow these things that I don't want in my life?
What
You know
are
what I'm
my
saying? Like,
toxic negative traits, right? Because
exactly.
sometimes us women, because it's become a woman's world, whereas it used to be a man's world, but social media flipped the script. And
Oh yeah.
so you can have, I'm married. I can
Yeah,
have 10 to 15 men still in my inbox every day, knowing that I'm married, trying to reach
for
out to
sure.
me and have dinner with me. But
For sure.
that does not change the fact that I still understand that it's a man's world in reality.
We have to look at the reality, and a lot of women right now are not.
No.
They're in, they'll look at something, and this is not to say that this is not okay, right? They'll look at something and say, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't like it either, babe, but the reality is that's what it is. We're not going to ignore reality
No.
based on, okay, like I don't like it. We can have an opinion on it, but that doesn't change the reality of the situation, right?
None.
So if the reality is, if you dress a certain way, if you dress provocative, you're going to attract a certain type of individual around you. You might not like that. You may want to dress provocatively and not have that happen, but that's not the reality. The reality is that it's going to attract a lower level type of man, a
Alignment.
lower level type of, and that's the reality. I don't, if I wanted to come out and just be booty naked, and I wish it was, we were in a world that way, but there's not much that we can change, right? The
No.
same reason you were born the way you were and I was born the way I was, there's not much I can change about that. I can say
No.
I don't like, I don't like that I'm Dominican, but I can't change that. It's already rooted in me, like, I gotta live with it and accept it.
Yes.
So I think that I don't know, like I and maybe you can help me and we can discuss like what might even be the root of that, because I think with women it's good for us to kind of analyze and kind of see where the root of that might be coming from, where we're more of like, well, I don't like that and it shouldn't be that way, and then we ignore the reality,
I
right?
think where we go wrong is dating young. Because what we're told, and I know at least in the Puerto Rican community, I'm sure I'm not the only woman, but what we're told from young is find a good man, have some children, be a good wife, cook, clean, do the essentials for that man. When it's like, what about getting to know who I am first?
For
What
sure.
about finding my path in my career first? What
For
about
sure.
adding all that pressure on a man and finding a spouse and having kids? What if that
Yeah,
was added to fuel to fire my career and my
for sure.
passions? And I
For
think
sure.
that
For
is
sure.
where we may go wrong. That's
Yeah.
why you see in the Hispanic community, there's kids that are being made so young. And then
Yeah.
us being so young, we're still trying to find our authenticity. We're still trying to
Yeah.
find ourselves. And now we have to start over because now we
Yeah.
have this other being. Now we have
Yeah.
this spouse that we have to learn how to compromise and move and to be
Yeah,
calm
you
and
gotta
chill.
coexist.
And it's
Gotta
always
coexist.
restarting, restarting, restarting.
Yeah.
Because then we have to find our career. Let me tell you, when I first had my daughter, I had to start from scratch in a position I never thought I would be in. I was
Same.
25 when I got pregnant with her, 26 when I had her. Okay. And I was the corporate junkie. I was 21 at ExxonMobil as a paralegal, handling property taxes over $1 million, being a paralegal assistant to lobbyists all over the world, and
Yeah.
youngest in the industry. I thought that was my route. I thought I climb that ladder, I work with the company, I do what I need to do, and I move and progress. But what happened? I had a daughter. I had no support. My parents lived in Florida. I was here by myself.
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it was me and my husband. And my husband, I barely knew like that. We were just getting to know each other. He had a kid already, and I
Yeah.
had to also give him time and get to know him,
Yeah.
and I felt like so many things happened so fast, and boom, COVID, baby. Now I'm
Yeah.
shut off for the world. I can't work. I don't know how
Yeah.
to move. I'm so used to the environment that I've been built and shaped in. Work hard, work hard. No, not work smart. And that
Yeah.
is the main mistake I feel like we're having. We're not being told enough to work smarter. We're told to be a good girl, to listen, to climb that ladder, to take college lessons, to be an average individual so that we can be employed by someone who isn't average.
I agree.
And
I
that's where
agree.
the problem arises. And I
I
had to
agree.
relearn myself. And also by losing half of my identity.
Yeah.
Now I had to be a stay-at-home mom. I couldn't work no more. It's a
Yeah.
pandemic. I literally was fighting a lawsuit with the company I was working for because they were discriminating against me being a woman. Even though they allowed a man to work part-time in Germany, they wouldn't allow me to work remote. And
Wow.
then they hired a man to fill my position while I was out on maternity leave for my 2 weeks, and they were forcing me to come back to work or I'd lose my job.
Wow.
What happened 2 weeks later? Everything shut down, and now everyone was working from home. But where was I? Let
Yeah.
go. Couldn't do nothing. I had to figure it out. And that is when I
Yeah.
got into the credit repair industry, because I was already great with finances. I am probably one of the only people you'll ever meet that my parents literally are lotto winners. They won $2.5 million, and after taxes they got left with 1.1 million. But their financial illiteracy had them bankrupt in 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is my passion. And I
Yeah.
turned that passion into a business. And then I found a partner along the way that can help
To do
me
that.
elevate and grow that business and fill in the gaps where I'm not so great at. Girl, I'm not a good salesman. I'll tell you
Yeah.
exactly what it is, and people don't like that. But
Yeah.
I can guide you, I can counsel you,
Mhm.
I can help you figure out these numbers. I can be a little bit robotic, and I'm okay with that because we need analytical people in this industry as well.
Correct. Correct. You
You
just got to
know,
find your place in that. Exactly.
that's it.
And
It
I love that. I love
years.
that. I love that. I also like the fact that you touched on the fact, how we're raised. Obviously, who we become has a lot to do with how we're raised.
Yes.
And that especially in the Latino community, we're pushed to learning how to cook, how to
Yeah.
clean, how to do all these things. For me, I guess maybe because I was growing up with a single mom
Yeah.
who had that mentality already, even though she was married at that point, she had to remarried. She told me, focus on school, focus on school. Don't focus on boys.
Yeah.
Don't focus on this. You need to focus on your career. You need to focus. But then guess what? I got so caught up in what they wanted me to be. And I didn't have the space, or the space wasn't created for
Yeah.
me to be who I wanted to be, right? Or to experience or to discover who is Ashley. What is Ashley like?
Yeah.
And then now look at Ashley, right? Like this is what I do with my daughter. I have a standard for my daughter, yes. But I look at my daughter and I look at her weaknesses and I look at her strengths.
Yeah.
And I pull her strengths. I pull it out of her. I don't look at her weaknesses. It's okay. You gotta try. You gotta I always compare it to her roller skating. She loves to roller skate. The first time she was roller skating, she would bust her butt every second. She'd get up and try again. Now she can go on a rollerblade, on an ice skate, and she's a pro.
Yeah.
Like if she's done it before. And I say to her, the same way that I always give her that example, the same way that the first time you went on a roller skate, you weren't great, and then you tried and tried again, and then you did it well. You'll be good at it eventually. But then I also as a parent, right, as a mom, I can look at her and say, these are her passions.
Yeah.
This is what look that I can see her, and her drawing is a form of therapy for her, right? And then when she's finished with her drawing, she's like, Mom, look what I drew, and it is beautiful. And I'm like, wow, Ilani, you created something so wonderful. That is her strength.
Yes.
And I'm gonna sit there and pull that away from her? No, I'm not gonna
No.
say, well, if you become an artist, you're not gonna have enough. You're not gonna have a lot of money. What kind of field would you be in with that, like to make money? And that's what
She's
would happen with
self-employing
me.
for $50,000, so she's taken care of for the whole month.
Exactly. So then there we go. That is exactly where I feel like our parents may have gone wrong in.
Yes.
And I don't totally disagree with having the idea of, yeah, have these beautiful qualities for when your husband finds you.
Yes.
Yes. But also, let me show you the wonderful qualities you already have and the
Yes.
passions that you have, where you can take those.
Yeah.
I told my daughter, I'm like, Lonnie, you don't have to just be an artist. You can be a web designer.
Yeah.
You can create games. You can be an architect. You see all these buildings. There's someone had to draw it before they built it. So I give her all these ideas, and like one day you'll find what's gonna make you happy. You're gonna be passionate about it. You're gonna make millions in that.
Yeah.
However it is that you want to live. And I want to pull that out of her and not just tell her, hey, by the way, you got to F in math, you're stupid, or you need to do better, you can't do that. You
Yeah.
have to, like, you know what I'm saying? I said to her, like, you don't know, listen, we all know, we're adults,
Yeah.
okay? What did school teach us?
90%
The
of it
basics.
we don't remember.
The basics, and that's it. That was the only thing that was most important. How to count, how to add, how to multiply,
And how to say
how
yes.
to read. How to read. The basics is what stuck with us.
Yeah.
Everything else we learned through life, we learned through reading, we learned through mentorship, we learned through trial and error, everything else, right? So imagine our parents putting us up to a standard saying, hey, you need to be XY. This was my experience. You need to be XYZ. Knowing that from a young, and I was very like, I was very self-aware, very,
Yeah.
very young, right? And I see that now. Like now that I think back, I recognize patterns, and even in adults, that I was just like, I was young, but I was able to recognize, hey, there's something wrong. There's something that's not okay.
Because you're a Scorpio. Hold the fucking curve.
It's not okay. But then I look back at it and I'm like, maybe if they were a little more supportive.
Yeah.
I already knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Nobody could tell me what to do. I hated people telling me what to do.
Yeah.
My mom should have been like, oh, she's gonna have her own business for sure. I tell my daughter she's gonna have her business. She's gonna have to have her own business because she doesn't like people telling her what to do, how to do it, when to do it. She's gonna want to do it when she want to do it. And if she doesn't want to do it, she's not gonna do it. That right there, you're already acknowledging that's an entrepreneur right there. And I'm gonna tell her, I'm gonna like, listen, you have qualities of an entrepreneur. You're not gonna be happy in a job because they're gonna tell you what to do. They're gonna tell you when to come. They're gonna tell you when to leave. They're gonna tell you when you can go to the bathroom, when to take a break, and you don't like that.
And how
so how?
I'm eating all day.
Exactly. So why would I push her as a mother? And I think that's where our parents probably failed at too. They didn't see our strengths, and they didn't play on our strengths.
Yeah.
They played on what society told them to play on.
Yeah.
Right? Told us to do, rather than questioning and saying, what are the strengths in my kid? And I think that's, as women now, we should definitely be doing that with ourselves and with our children, because the society's changing. The degree is losing its value. It probably has no value right now, right? What's its value? Even in certain aspects, right? Maybe if you're being a doctor, if you're going to go to be a lawyer, okay, now you have a little bit of equality still with your degree, but you're going to tell me I had someone had told me, I'm going to school for business. I was like, girl, you don't need a degree to start a business. You don't need a degree to start. Don't get yourself into debt when you can just literally find you a mentor and start a business. You don't need to go into debt to be into a business. If you're going to go into debt, it's because you're going to have an investment into a business. Then going to school to learn about business, to later learn from professors who don't know squat about owning a business.
And they're still trying to make ends meet on their own because teachers aren't paid well. You get your PhD, well, not your PhD, you get your doctorates and you get your PhD license and you get a $5,000 increase. Girl, absolutely not.
No, it's not worth it. We're in a society now where you have to be creative in order to be successful. If you want to, listen, I'm in Miami, right? Okay. I came to, look what store. I wish I could show you. I don't know if I could flip what store. I'm literally in front of a Gucci store. Right next door is a Dolce & Gabbana, Montclair.
Yes.
Listen, you go in this world, it's only getting more and more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody in Miami, anybody you could talk to in Miami, they have a job, they have a side, and like 5 different side hustles because things are expensive.
Yes.
But if we continuously have this mentality that our parents, that maybe at one point it was a helpful thing to say to your kids, to say, go to school and get a job. It's not a thing anymore. It's not a thing anymore. You have to have your own business. You have to have something, investments. You have to have a side hustle, right? If you love your job, turn that into, you have to have a creative aspect to it to now
be open-minded,
globalize it. Exactly. And women fail to realize that right now. A lot of women are sitting around on their butts and staying victims. And it's like, mommy, make a decision. Make a decision.
Yeah, it's
make a decision.
Balance, right? It's understanding that it's okay to be codependent on your partner, but understanding that what happens when your partner falls, what happens when shit hits the fan, right? What happens when they need help? This is where you're that mindset and that healthy mentality are allowing you to help your partner continue to elevate. Don't ever stay in a stuck position. If you've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, phenomenal. Marry a man who has a shit ton of money and wants you to.
Be smart. There we go. Like, that's going back to the realistic aspects of it. A lot of women are dating men who are still in the process and want to be a stay-at-home mom. Babe, you chose wrong. Okay, you should have just waited and done and just started your own business or something. But putting these pressure on yourself and on
Yep.
men when it's not realistically, your situation with that person, then like, come on, like, let's be realistic now. And I don't talk down on women who
Well,
actually seek that. They'll
yeah.
seek the stability because
Yeah.
that's what they want. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And then they find men who take pleasure
Hmm.
in fulfilling that for her.
Yeah.
Say, you want to be a stay-at-home mom? Awesome. I want a stay-at-home mom, right? I want a woman that's going to be home taking care of the kids all day and guiding them and protecting them and being there and present for them on a daily basis.
But I feel like
Great.
these are the conversations that women are missing. And you have to have them in the beginning of the relationship before you even take it a step further. Because
Yeah.
what if you don't align in the future?
Yep.
What if you
Yep.
sit here and say, okay, well, this is what I want, this is what I want, and then that's not the type of man that you end up with? You
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
have that alignment, because when you have that alignment, you vibe at a different energy. And
I
together
agree.
you radiate an energy that's going to be attracted to that same type of individual. So when you're walking, you're talking, that energy is just coming at you. You're finding
Correct.
investors, you're finding people as entrepreneurs, you're finding married couples that are similar to you, you're finding singles that are similar to you, where you can network
Correct.
and work together.
Hmm.
But that
Correct.
alignment will never happen if you don't put the necessary work in, and if you don't ask the hard questions first. Let me tell you, when I first met my husband, we sat down on his table for 5 hours and just talked.
Good.
Nothing else.
Good.
I was
Good.
so painful with my butt from sitting on a chair for 5 hours. I was like, it's okay, we can sit on the bed. Well, we ain't going there today. We can sit down there, but we're not going there. And
Yeah.
what happens is, when we don't have those conversations, we lose ourselves even more.
It's true.
You know,
It's
and
true.
then the only person that gains is the man who's getting a wife without the title. What
Exactly.
are the benefits?
And I want to piggyback off of that too, because it's always everything that we talk about, right? That the lack of accountability women take in certain situations that they put themselves in. A lot of it is because they don't work on themselves. They
Yes.
don't take the time. I encourage every woman, okay? Take time out.
Yeah.
Take a few years to yourself. Be celibate, okay? Don't talk to anyone. At least 2 years, okay? By yourself. Be celibate. Work on your mental health.
Yeah.
Get a therapist if that applies to you. Get in the gym. Learn yourself, right? Because the reason why women are not asking these questions when they're getting into these relationships, in these businesses, in these partnerships, is because they have that lack of self-awareness. And when you have a lack of self-awareness, you're not going to be aware enough to know to ask these questions. And then later down the line, even though there were a bunch of red flags in the beginning, they're like, oh, well, I didn't know. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Self-inventory is so important. What am I lacking?
Exactly.
It's not what I can bring to the table. I'm a woman. I am the motherfucking table. But what value can I add to this man's life? Right? Because at the end of
Exactly.
the day, vice versa. If that man is going to
Exactly.
provide, protect, love me, take care of our
Yeah.
kids, work his butt off, then what
Yeah.
value can I bring to the table?
And I think that's also very, and I'm gonna, you know what, that's probably like the first thing that I maybe kind of slightly disagree with as
Yeah.
far as the approach, right? Because we are valuable.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of asking yourself, what do I bring value to the table? You should already know. And
Yes.
that person, if they're self-aware enough, they will also see that value,
You're
right?
right.
They won't have to ask you.
Nope.
They'll see, hey, I see that you're disciplined.
Yep.
They don't have to tell you. They're like, well, I want a wife that's disciplined. They see that you're passionate. Well, I want a wife that's passionate,
Yep.
that aligns with me. The same way we shouldn't have to ask a man,
No.
oh, okay, can you provide? Or ask a man, hey, are you a good man? What? No, we ask values and then we watch.
Yes.
Okay, this is the key for women. Watch. Watch what they do. Watch what
Yes.
they say.
Actions
And then
are
if
more powerful than words.
Exactly. Actions are more powerful than words. I hate this whole conversation nowadays. It's like, oh, I'm bad. What do you bring to the table? If you're asking those questions, you don't know yourself enough to be able to perceive that in the other person or to see that in the other person. We shouldn't be asking themselves. We should be asking them, what are their morals? What are their values? What do you believe in? What's your goals down the next
Who we
5 years? Do you work out? Do you go to the doctor? Because a lot of men don't go to the doctors.
Yeah.
Do you, asking those kind of questions, and everything else you watch. You
Yes.
watch. But you gotta know, you have to know, women and men, okay, but since we're talking to women, you have to know within yourself the qualities of a man that is of value, of
Yeah.
qualities of a man who is of value. A man who puts God first, a man who has a relationship with God. If he has God first and he knows how to love and obey God, he's going to love and obey you.
Yes.
He's going to cherish the relationship. He's going to cherish himself. And when a man cherishes God, he cherishes himself and everything else around him of value, right? Or even of no value, right? Anything around him.
Yeah.
So you look at those values. We don't have to sit here and ask. And I want to discourage women from asking those stupid questions because it's stupid. It
We
tells
should
you
ask
where you're at.
ourselves
Yes,
those questions.
exactly. We ask ourselves those questions and then we make a checklist. Okay,
Yeah.
this is the kind of man that I would like, and you observe. Simple. You don't need to ask a man what he brings to the table,
No.
and a man shouldn't be asking a woman what she brings to the table. Okay, because they know. Okay, men do things for women.
Yes.
They want the success. They want to reach their goals. They want to get fit. If they're doing it for other men, then sorry, babe, you're gay. But if most of the time they're doing it for women to attract that female, to
Yeah.
attract that woman, the type of woman that they want, and women too, and that's okay. That's another conversation that needs to be had.
One of the biggest things that I told Dewan before we even did anything is I said, my no exception is I need a man who is mentally and physically fit. You don't have to look the greatest, but
Yeah.
you need to take consideration of your health, your body. You
Correct.
need to be in the gym.
Correct.
You need to be mentally
Correct.
sane because for me it's a non-negotiable. It's a part
It
of
has to
my
be.
lifestyle.
It should be a non-negotiable for everyone
Mm.
because at the end of the day, this is the partner that you're choosing to be with forever, especially if you're marrying, right? Nobody's thinking about divorce. If I'm going to be with you forever, I don't want it to be that you hit 60 years old and you're incapable of us going on our vacations
Yeah.
or have to worry about your health because you didn't take care of your health. Women have to think about that.
Yeah.
If you're with a man who's consistently smoking, consistently drinking, doesn't go to the gym, doesn't work out, guess what? You're going to have a headache
And a short
early on with that
lifespan.
person and a short lifespan with that man. Okay, and it goes vice versa, but we're talking to women.
Yeah.
In a short lifespan, and it's true. Like it's reality. People are like, oh, but if people love you, they'll love you the way you are. Yeah, but we're not gonna we have an objective reality, and the reality is if you're not healthy, you are more prone to getting sick, something happening to you later on, dealing with cancers. And that's to say that's not going to happen to anyone, but you have a higher chance of
Yeah.
it, right? So you have a
Awareness.
higher. Exactly, that awareness. It's like saying like, oh, I go in the car and I don't put a seatbelt on. Well, who's to say I'm gonna get a car crash? But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't put your seatbelt
Yeah.
on. Put your seatbelt on because there's still a possibility that you can, and you want to make sure that you're preparing yourself. Right? It's the same thing. It's a silly conversation,
Yeah.
but sometimes as women we have to be repetitive a little bit. But
No, but that's why we're made different. And that's why
exactly,
we're made to balance each other out. You bring the food, I bring the table. You bring
correct,
the money, I bring the peace.
exactly,
You bring
exactly,
the networking connections, and I bring the community. Right? We are
correct,
supposed
correct.
to gel, and
Yeah,
that does not come without complications,
of
without
course,
hard conversations, and without
of course.
compromise from both sides.
Exactly, exactly. That's so true. That is very true. And I think that for those individuals that do find an individual and someone else that they can coexist with, that you can actually meet and
Yeah.
match and say, you know what, you can sit down, have these valuable conversations, work through conflicts,
Yeah.
however that may look like for you guys. That is something that you find and you hold on to.
Yeah.
You don't let that go. You hold on to that, right? I am so against divorce. I'm
Yeah.
so against all of that. And like I always tell myself, like even when I had my daughter, I couldn't my mentality towards children and family was always I wanted to have my kids with one person. And
Me
it's not always
too.
the same. It's not but guess what? Like we have those things and we get discouraged because
Yeah.
it's like we can't control the other
No.
person. You know what I'm saying?
No.
For that I just had no. And I said, listen, the next time I did it, I wasn't married to my daughter's father, right? We were I was young, we were in a relationship, and
Yeah.
that's all it was. And now as I'm older and now as I'm growing, my daughter's about to be 10 years old, I'm 30 years old, and I look at it and I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right. I'm not gonna have, and no shame to the women who continue. Honestly, a little bit of shame, because it's not okay. You're creating broken households,
Yes.
right? Because it's okay to say, okay, I made a mistake and I learned from it. I
Yeah.
made not a mistake, but I made a decision. It wasn't the best decision, and I'm learning from that. So
Yeah.
now, 10 years down the line, for my example, I made sure, hey, if I'm gonna be out here doing anything with anyone, I'm gonna be very strict on how I do it, because
Yep.
I'm not having another child out of wedlock. That's what I said to myself. And I think, again, by the grace of God, knock on wood, I've never had to have an abortion or anything like that,
Yeah.
because I've been safe.
Yeah.
Knowing myself that if I were to get pregnant, then I'm gonna have to have that baby, because
Yeah.
I know myself.
Yeah.
I can't deal with that conscious. But now, to this point, now, if I'm saying, if I'm gonna have more kids, and ideally, I don't know, maybe not right now, but when my husband comes, I
Yeah.
will compromise for my
Yeah.
husband. When my husband comes, I will have those kids for my husband, for my husband.
Yes.
And even people say, like, oh, even a marriage can, you divorce. Well, you know what? I am not going to let it get to that point. I'm
Marriage
going
is
to try as much as
spiritual.
everything, right? So then it's like, we also have to, again, accountability as
Yeah.
women, right? Because a lot of times women have children young
Yeah.
and continuously have children with multiple individuals, multiple men, and wonder why, certain things are not panning out for them, or why life is getting a little too difficult.
Yeah.
And it's like, babe, you should have learned after maybe the second one.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't have no more babies.
And
Close the
the crazy
discipline,
thing,
close the legs,
yeah,
close
the crazy
everything.
thing about that is when you do that, you're carrying spirits with you throughout
Oh yeah.
eternity. And not only
Yeah,
are
if
you
you want to
doing
get
that, now you're
spiritual.
dealing with men that you didn't align with and their personalities and your children.
Exactly.
And that's something that you have to continually work through in life. And it happens and it's okay, but you don't want to repeat the same mistake over and over again.
That's something
That
that we
is where the
definitely need to.
power lies.
I feel like that's where I always go back to the accountability that women need to have.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times we'll be like, oh, well, you know what? Like, my thing is giving me a thumbs up. This happened to me, right? And like, yes, it's unfortunate, but at what point are you going to take accountability
Yes.
for your part in those unfortunate
It would
situations?
have never happened if you didn't put yourself in
You're
that position.
you're on the fourth baby daddy, you know what I'm saying? You're 30 years old, fourth baby daddy, 6 children, still complaining that you don't have enough money, that you're living in a cycle, that you don't have a life. When are we going to have the accountability?
Yeah.
And I know this is going to be a very controversial topic. People are probably not going to like me for it, but it's the
Okay.
reality.
We're not made to be liked. We're made to tell the truth. We're made to change
Exactly.
this route and this dirty mentality that we're supposed to be this way and it's my way or the highway. And I think the biggest thing that we need to understand is women need to stop running from conversations like this and face them head on. That is a big thing in women right now. And I understand because I've been one. I've been a woman who runs and nope, this ain't for me. It is what it is because I don't want to handle accountability. But I had to learn to work through that. I had to learn to stay put and deal with the hard conversations and really not give that negative emotion or energy to the person who's trying to help me work through it together.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do it on your own.
And I get that.
And sometimes you do it with your partner.
Yep.
It just really depends, on where you are in your life and what type of man comes in your life. And is he patient? Because you have to be just as patient as he is. We're not perfect. Ain't no rule book to life. There's no guide.
That's true.
Our parents didn't have a guide. We don't have a guide. So we have to go off our gut. And we need to listen to that a lot more often than we usually do.
I agree. I also think that it's important for women, especially, and men too, but to have a faith.
Yes.
I think that there needs to be a faith involved. I will always, talk about Christ. I am very faith-filled. I gave my life to Christ, and that has been the thing. And we talk about this book. We talk about a manual.
Yeah.
We do have a manual. We do have a manual. It's called the Bible, right? We have a manual. And when I got back into the church and I got back into reading the Word, there's so much in the Word that I'm just like, oh my God, if I would have just been a little bit more into my faith, into my Word, I would have seen the lessons in my Bible that I could have completely avoided. So many things in my life and so many decisions that I made in my life that could have been completely avoided if I was just listening to the Bible. The Bible is, it's my faith.
Yeah.
the Bible talks about so much wisdom. There's wisdom in that, right? There's wisdom in learning how to keep yourself together. They talk about the spirits. They talk about making sure that you're not, sleeping with all these different, all these different spirits, and involving your body in certain things, or doing things that are not okay, like, being disobedient to your parents, or doing certain things, like just simple things like that as well, and taking that into life and having a certain characteristic into life to avoid certain things, right? Or to harness certain energies or certain emotions, and to learn to let go of those things and not carry that with you. Like, all of those things, I read it now and I'm like, dang, if I would have just read the Bible. If I would have just read the Bible and just listen. But it's okay. It's okay. There is manuals out there, right? But at the end of the day, there it always goes back, women having that accountability. And since we're talking to women, I'm going to continuously say that, because we are, a lot of the times women are like, oh, but this happened to me, but that happened to me, but society is against me, but this. No, we are able to do what we want to do, fortunately, right? Because we live in the US, where things are, people come here to flee from their crazy countries to have the freedom that they don't have in 80-90% of the world. They come to America.
Yeah.
So we have it here. We have the luxury of
Yes.
talking about these things, of being able to say, I have this faith and you have that faith, because in another country you'd be beheaded if you don't have the same faith that they
Yes.
require you to have. So for us to sit here and have this mentality, we cannot continue like that, because you're not going to go far. You're not going to go far. You're going to stay stuck for a very long time. And I am a big advocate for taking accountability.
Yeah.
Okay, like, people do things to you. What did I do to allow this to
To
happen?
make you feel that way and to want to do it to me.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
think
Exactly.
that's the big part of having that open and honest communication. It's gonna hurt. Let it hurt. But give me
Yep.
the opportunity to know the realness and the rawness and the truth of what I deserve to understand. And as long as
Correct.
we both give that, we have that compassion between peers, friendships, networking, partners, women,
Correct. Correct.
children around us,
Correct.
then we build a strong community of people.
Correct.
And I think
Correct.
that's the most powerful tool we can give is honesty and truth and discipline. That is one thing that a lot of women struggle with, is having that discipline to say no, to creating those
Yeah.
boundaries and being
Yeah.
able to authentically be the person that you're supposed to be. Because when you become authentic and when you start saying no, you are going to align with your tribe.
The boundaries that you're setting. Yep.
So there
I
you
agree.
have it. Ashley, I wanted to ask
Love
you
it.
one last question before we go ahead
Sure.
to wrap up your night. Amazing conversation. Thank you so much for being on. But Ashley, in 5 years, close your eyes and see yourself as the woman you imagine and admire, and bring her here right now.
Okay.
Tell me who she is.
I have her. She is Ashley, who not only was able to surpass the goals that she had for herself, right, and the standards that she had for herself, she was able to surpass that for her, but for her family, but for people in general.
Yeah.
I think about Ashley, and Ashley in 5 to 10 years. Ashley is this woman who not only flows with her faith, right? She is embedded in her faith, but she has an open heart, because, life tends to harden our heart.
Yeah.
Life tends to put us through situations where we want to close off, where we don't want to open up, where we don't want to help people. We just want to worry about our own things.
Yeah.
And that's natural.
Yeah.
Ashley, even now, and I carry that now, but I want it to be of a more an open heart, where I have, nonprofits helping women in abuse situations. I have nonprofits helping children in abuse situations, because I've experienced that. I'm having nonprofits helping women start businesses because they don't have the money. They have the resources, they have everything, but they don't have the money, right? I want to have, in the same way, when in those abuse situations, therapy for women who need it, who want it, who want to move forward, who want to take action, but again, lack resources. Ashley in 5 to 10 years is going to have resources for other people, for everyone else. And I think back at Ashley 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and I look back and I wish I would have had the
Yeah.
resources. So I want to be that.
Yeah.
for whoever else. I want someone to come to me and think, whatever it may be, maybe Ashley would know. Ashley can help. And I want them to call me and be like, hey, Ashley, I have an XYZ situation. Can you help?
Yeah.
Do you have a resource for me? I want to be that person. And that's who I'm going to be. Right. And I'm going to be that for me first. And I'm going
Yes.
to be that for my family. And then I'm going to go ahead and the ripple effect and be that for everyone else.
You hit it.
And I am,
For you
and
first.
that's it. Exactly. For me, because we have to be the example, right?
Yeah.
We have to be the example first. We have to be the example, and that's why I openly share my journey. That's why I openly share to people my situations, what I've gone through, what I'm currently going through, and I'm gonna continue doing that no matter how uncomfortable it may be sometimes.
Yeah.
Because there's someone out there that needs to hear it, that needs to see it, and that's what's gonna spark that in them to become the version of themselves that they need to be to get out of whatever situation that they're in. And honestly, it's not about me.
No.
It's never been about me. It's never. It's not. God called my purpose to be a specific thing, and I'm gonna be that for everyone else. I want everyone to look at me and see Christ. That's what I want to see, and that's my goal, and that's who I'm gonna be in the 5-10 years, and even now, right? So that's who I see Ashley in 10 years. You know, and also hopefully like no longer having to worry about like bills, right? Just passive income, 100% passive income, where it's like, yo, like now I can really fully focus on helping, you know?
You know, and I think that's powerful, which is why I call you the powerhouse. You know, it's important to not only pour from a full cup, but to understand when you're empty and when to understand that you need to sit back and recharge to be able to give the way you desire to. When I was younger, I went to Boys and Girls Club from 5 all the way until about 12 years old. My goal is to be on that board of committee. My goal is to open up Boys and Girls Club for these young kids nowadays.
Oh my God. We're gonna do it. We're doing it.
Anymore. Kids need kids. They need community. It kept my friends off the streets. As soon as Boys and Girls Club around me in Chicago went away, guess what? 5 of them died. They went into gangs.
Oh my gosh.
They were lost because they lost that sense of community, that sense of understanding that there's kids around you that can be influential to your life. You know?
I love that.
And,
I love that.
So
there's a deeper issue with that too, and I love that because like another thing that I would love to do is, obviously my faith is a big thing for me. I want to do faith-based things where we're keeping families together, right? We're keeping households together. We're encouraging men to continuously be fathers in their children's lives, and moms to if they're going to give birth, to keep the baby and to take care of the baby, right? And if you don't want a baby, you know, don't practice or be safe about it, right? As safe as possible, to encourage family again, and to encourage that unit again, because unfortunately these kids wound up in situations like foster care or in Boys and Girls Club and on the streets looking for the love that they didn't get in their family. So to encourage the unit again, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how a lot of men are pushing like, oh, I don't need a man, willingly having kids, right, willingly from a sperm bank. I cannot fathom the idea. Like imagine being that kid. Like imagine being that kid. Like your mom grew up and she decided to have you from a sperm bank. Imagine being that kid. I couldn't imagine being that kid.
Of not knowing what part of you.
You're gonna want to know. You're gonna want to know. Like naturally, you're gonna want to be like, well, I want to know who he is. Like,
if he's a
why did he think it was a
shit bag? Let me just find out where my
that shouldn't even be a thing. I'm sorry. Like, it shouldn't even be a thing. But and that goes again. It goes like more towards my faith. But just to think about being that kid. Like, I'm trying to think about like if I were a kid that was made by like a sperm donor. What? I couldn't even fathom what I would feel.
No.
That's crazy. And we have to have these conversations with women. It starts with women. I'm sorry. It starts with women.
Because we are the procreators.
Exactly.
We need to.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen without a man or a woman. We can go through whatever it is that we go through today. We can change our identities. We can do everything that's necessary. But without a man and a woman, nothing is possible.
Correct. And I want to end on this note, right? And I tell people all the time, when I had my daughter, I hid it from my family for 6 months on purpose. Because I was in a position where I was like, I know this is not the ideal,
Yeah.
right? And I had a discussion with her dad too, and I would say, did you want to keep it? He was open to the idea. He didn't tell me blatantly, I want you to have an abortion.
Yeah.
And thank God that he did it, because I probably would have forced myself at that point. But he didn't. He left that space. And I chose, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna do the right thing. I sat here and I decided to have intercourse. I decided to do this, and now I'm pregnant. Let me take responsibility for what I did.
Yes.
And now that looks like me being a single mom for however many years now, and that's totally fine, right? That's totally fine, because it created me. It was a part of my purpose. It's a part of my journey. Now, who Ashley is and who Ashley is becoming is helping other women.
Yeah.
And if that was my purpose within all that, amazing. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it, and I'll hold on to it, and I'll run with it.
That's it.
And I think women need to have that understanding, that accountability,
Yeah.
and understanding, like, hey, you know what? It's okay to make not the best choices,
Yeah.
but taking accountability from then on out.
And growing.
Taking accountability.
And learning.
Exactly.
We're
And
gonna make
learning.
mistakes in life. We're going to do those things, but let me tell you, if we don't make mistakes, we're not growing. Don't
Exactly.
make the same one
Exactly.
over and over again.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
You know, so I just
Exactly.
want to say thank you so much for your time, your energy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being a part of this. I know with the platform that we work with, the networking that we do, we are changing hundreds and thousands of lives on the daily. We are giving people a second opportunity to really be able to build financial wealth for their
Amen.
families and their generations to come. And not only doing that, but we're teaching them how to utilize that to build generational wealth. So I thank
Amen.
you so
Amen
much
to
for
that.
that purpose. I thank you so much for that mistake you made 10 years ago. Because let me tell you,
No mistakes.
not know
No
you
mistakes.
if that was not the case. Vice versa.
No
My daughter
mistakes.
was a surprise. Whoops, had
Mm-hmm.
no idea, but guess what? We're gonna get through this. We're gonna become the
Amen.
strong,
Yep.
beautiful women that we are supposed to
Correct.
be,
Correct.
and we can
No
create
mistakes.
strong, beautiful women in the future.
Likewise. Amazing. I love this. I am so excited for whenever we're going to get together again on this podcast. I
Yes.
will be happily on your podcast, and just have these discussions that are so incredible. And thank you for having this podcast in the first place. It's important that women listen, and tap into these kind of conversations and pitch into these conversations, and stir the pot a little bit, because we
Yeah.
need to have these
Yes.
conversations. We definitely do. So thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, everyone. That's a great episode with a powerhouse, Ashley Valdez. If you are looking for real estate in Miami, Florida, hit her up. If you are looking to transform your life and build a team and community and restore your credit, hit her up. And we will love to work with you together. But that's all here for Health, Wealth, and Mindset with Momentum. Have a great Saturday. Thank you for being here. There we go.